Hi, I'm Grace Chambers, and this is my TED Talk over the adverse effects of prejudice based on Mary Shelley's work, Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's work, Frankenstein, the act of judging a book by its cover is one of the many key themes throughout the story. All of the events that happen throughout the story they all tie into the theme of prejudice. Because in each situation, someone made a preconceived opinion over based on the creation that Victor Frankenstein made based on his appearance, which contributed to the domino effect that led to the monster becoming the evil being they feared him to be in the first place. One of the first points that I would like to discuss is when the creation was recreated, when he was given new life. Victor Frankenstein had been working on this project for quite some time, and he had such high hopes. He had picked out the perfect pieces to make his perfect creation, and it was a ginormous scientific discovery. Like, who wouldn't want to be that much closer to bringing someone back from the dead or creating new life? He was playing God, ultimately, and that was a really big deal. So whenever he succeeded, one of the very first steps in the spiral downward throughout the story was when the monster, instead of being greeted with a sense of victory or accomplishment, he was greeted with disgust and horror on Victor Frankenstein, his creator, his father, basically, on his face. He was completely appalled because he had a preconceived idea of what his monster was going to look like because he picked out all the pieces and it didn't go over how he thought it was going to. The monster's skin was tight and see-through. You could see the muscles, you could see the veins, and his teeth were pearly white with jet black hair, and it just wasn't what he thought it was going to be. And I think ultimately his reaction was the beginning step of everything bad that the monster did later on in the story. The last point that I would like to discuss in the TED Talk is when the monster was shot for saving a little girl's life, which was surprising, but it was the misjudgment of first glance from the shooter. It was his daughter that the monster had saved, and from just one glance, he prejudged and automatically assumed that the monster was there to hurt his child, even though the monster had just saved her from drowning in a river after being chased, And that just brings to question, like, every one of these events just brings to question whether or not the monster was really a monster to begin with. All of these acts of prejudice just keep adding to the list, and it just makes it 10 times worse than it needed to be. These preconceived opinions of the monster really do cloud the better judgment of, like, if you actually gotten to know Adam for, like, his intentions. All he wanted to do was learn. He was confused when he was brought into this world, and he was completely shut out. He was rejected time after time again. And at this point in the story, he had completely just blown off the humankind. He was done. He was done with mankind. He was done with humans. We were but parasites that were roaming the earth, and he was determined to find someone that he could be with, But after so many times of being rejected and so many times of just wanting to be accepted and then having that door slammed in his face time after time again, he pretty much gave up. But his weakness was definitely children, as we saw with the little girl and William. I think that was a big factor. And he thinks, like, the innocence of those children, they have not yet been associated with the evils of the world. Therefore, they wouldn't be able to make that pre-judgment upon him. But as we saw in the story, that was not true. But yeah, I just really think that the little girl, like, if she were to have more say in the story. Like if we'd have gotten to hear her side, I mean, of course she was scared. Obviously, I'd be scared if a giant monster pulled me out of a river, but I think that the story could have gone a different way had he not been shot by the child's father. But that's just another example of how prejudice is an adverse thing to live by. And if we judge someone by their cover constantly, we're never going to really get the full truth.
And if Victor Frankenstein and everyone else throughout the story, the DeLacy family, the little girl's father, the shooter, if they could all just go back and just do the decent human thing and give him a chance instead of having that, judging a book by its cover and having that one-minded point of view from the very beginning, the story might have turned out a lot differently. And I think that that prejudice is definitely what took the monster down and just destroyed any chance he had at having a normal human life as he was created for.